that was circulating in my brain while we were on this topic of SMS and fraud and scams. I'm sure everyone's read, recently there's the legislature is getting involved in a discussion around the scams revolving around Zelle, person to person, transfers. And again, this is the chasm, the different world between, people's current accounts and shopping with their credit cards, right? And how different the rules are, these zero liability guarantees that the merchant, that the consumers take great comfort in. And most consumers think that they've got similar protections, when they're using things like Zelle, and they only find out the hard way that they don't. Now, at some point, those protections didn't exist for the consumers on the credit card side either. And eventually they became law, and then the card networks even stepped in and went beyond the law with their zero liability guarantees. The laws are going to change on the P2P online banking side, and of course, many of those systems are starting to be used for purchases as well. I think the laws are going to change, but I think the institutions are going to realize yet again that it's in their best interests to suck it up and eat some of those losses, and give consumers their money back when they've been defrauded. Now they also need to do things to educate consumers, and I use Zelle all the time, and I'm getting lots of emails from my bank giving me advice. But we know that most consumers don't pay any attention. Something in the chat about us payment geeks, paying attention and trying these things. But the average person, they don't pay any attention to these things until they lose a couple of $1,000. And then all of a sudden they pay attention. I have a friend who's a recently retired doctor, smart guy. He fell for one of these phone scams where they pretended they were Apple calling and telling him that his computer had been hacked, and they would fix it for him, but he had to go get $5,000, and he literally drove down to the drugstore, got $5,000 worth of gift cards, and he also gave the fraudsters his social security number, his driver's license number, his passport number, everything. And here's a guy, who's a doctor. You can't presume the consumer is going to pay attention or protect themselves. And as long as the industry takes the lead in a way that the card brands did early on with their zero liability guarantees, or eventually the regulations are going to force the hand. And it's unfortunate that that's often, what it takes.
Yeah, well, so I've been having that conversation with a few banks lately, because a friend of mine had that happen. But it was less they got scammed. It was more that somebody got into their account and took a bunch of money. But I also had that scam happen too. And I just keep looking at it and thinking, Visa and MasterCard, and require us merchants to be monitored during these things and figuring out that, okay, so somebody just bought 12 of my product, and it only makes sense to have one. And we would get the chargeback, we would be liable for it. But yet, some reason the federal government, nor consumers really, don't require banks to do the same thing. Like my friend had hundreds of thousands of dollars removed from her account. Does she normally wire all her money every week or something? No, we should not allow that. And that's where I keep saying it's and I know SMS and the more difficult or more advanced two-factor auth systems are there. We should require these things. And if consumers won't do it just because it's the best thing, us merchants and the banks and the ecosystem, we all need to step up and push these things, because and the same thing with the banks. Why can't they have machine learning too to stop those kind of problems? That would have been so simple to stop.